Okay, part two. So, as I was addressing this part of martial arts with this one problem of people being taught how to fight to hit people with everything they have, it's a double negative because you don't know who you're hitting. Alright? It's more important to know where you are hitting a person than how hard you hit a person. Because you can hit a person and drop their jaw and you might put them to sleep. Or you can hit a person and break your fucking hand. Which is a bad idea for you, especially if that other person has a good recovery time. If you hit a person and you break your hand, you're one weapon down. Alright? So let's say you repeat the process and you break your hand, the other hand. Now you're two weapons down. What have you learned? You've learned that hitting people with everything you've got doesn't always work. Now you could get lucky. That first breaking hand might have broke their jaw. Might have put them to sleep. Then again, it might not have, because if you're fighting someone who's like MMA trained or UFC trained or militarily trained, and you don't get lucky, you've only pissed them off. Now, there's two ways to win a fight against a pissed off person. Okay? Because there's two types of pissed off. Two types of pissed off. Remember that. There's a pissed off where you're going against somebody like me, who's a rageaholic. They can use that anger and channel it well enough that I'm focused now on how I can hurt you. And then there's pissed off where people just start going wild. And they start throwing haymakers from hell, and they're like, or if they're girls and they're doing that windmill thing, those are some things that you need to be aware of. The pissed off rageaholic that can focus his anger against you is more dangerous than the pissed off idiot that has lost his marbles completely and just decided, I'm going to throw all these haymakers and pray something lands. When you're in that situation where you're against the guy who's just throwing shit and prays something lands, you have a better chance of success by just avoiding everything. He'll tire himself out, and if you use the tree technique, he may even do damage to himself even more. So if he's damaged, then you can go in for the knockout blow or the kill. It just depends on what your situation is. I prefer the knockout blow. Do not try to kill anyone, please, and thank you. And the situation occurs where you can get angry in a fight. You will get angry, which is why the fight probably began in the first place. But in doing so, you need to be angered but controlled. It's the same thing as when they taught us in the military, you have a flight or fight reaction. Now, before I went to the military, I tell you the first thing I would like to say is, I would like to flight. However, since I grew up fighting since I was 6, flight or fight wasn't really an option. And I will be the first to tell you that a good run is better than a bad stand any day. But once I joined the military, for the most part, I'm scared of shit. I'm more afraid to not fight than I am to fight. But in the fight, I'm afraid, will I be able to stop if I have to kill this person to stop them? Will I be able to stop before I reach that point? The answer is, I don't know. Because I haven't been in a fight in a long time. And I've been out of the military, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I've been out of the military going on 9 years. It'll be 9 years next year, because it'll be 2020. I went in 2011. I got out in 2011. So yeah, I've been in there a good 8 or 9 years. Well, I've been out a good 8 or 9 years. And hip result, no. Not being able to train. My dad died 4 years ago. Time's all jumbled up for me, but I know I went in 2011. I got out in 2011 because I got hurt during training, so I didn't get to serve the way I wanted to serve, and that kind of sucks because I'd rather still be in the military, although at 45 now they'd be just throwing me out. They wouldn't probably let me re-up. Then again, they might, but now that I'm not healthy, or not as healthy as I should be, that would be an issue. So now I'm basically a big fat liability, and there's no way in hell they would ever let me back in. But, unless they let me in as a trainer, I would gladly take that job. I would gladly take that job. I don't want to be at Fort Benning, though. Send me somewhere where it's dry heat. I'll take Arizona, or I'll take California. I'll take one place where it's like dry heat. As long as I'm on the base and as long as I'm getting a military paycheck, I'm good. Okay, so depending on what style you're taking, if you have a good ground game, which means you've probably taken Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that's your thing. I am I am not really down with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Two reasons. Two reasons. One, I suck at it. All right, let's be honest. One, I suck at it, and two, it was as foreign to me as me learning about the Filipino martial art Kali, which I never heard of until a few years ago. But prior to that, I have had some Kempo and some short stick training, and I had other fighting trainings. And when I joined the army, we had some martial arts, and then we had Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I just could not get these guys to fuck off me. They didn't really have to work that hard to establish dominance. I didn't have to tap out. It was pretty much once they got me in like the triangle with the head and pinning like my arm's here on their arm, and I get them off me, but then we're tussling, and then they do the roll over top of you like a funky crab thing, and then they lock you up like in a pen. I'm like, all right, go ahead, you win. It's like, well, I said, man, I'm not going to keep trying to struggle against this shit. And it's like, well, what would you do in real life? I said, well, in real life, you ain't getting my ass on the ground for one. And that's the thing. You have to use what works for you. Not every person who learns Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu will be great at it. And Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is not the same as Jiu-Jitsu. By far, they're totally fucking different. And being that I have been trained in both, I don't remember none of the forms of Jiu-Jitsu. I just know what the premises of. And Jiu-Jitsu and Judo are not the same. Don't get that twisted either. They are not the same. And yes, I've had Judo. And Judo works on the premises of your own opponent's strength against them and their own momentum. So if I'm pushing you, you pull me, you tip, you turn, you twist, I go down, you put your knee in my neck. That's pretty much all you need to know right there for Judo. That's it, You're bigger than me, you're stronger than me, I use you against you. So you're pushing me, your hands are here. My hands go here, they go here, I use my hip, and I flip you over, and then I put my knee in your neck. Now, my instructor taught me that, like if they're pulling you, you push them, and if you're pushing them, you can clip your free foot that's closest to them under whichever leg of theirs is closer, because they're pulling you and they're not thinking about you doing that. And as you both go down, you put your knee, sternum, chest, throat, crotch, whatever one is available, because you're both going down. And since you're going down, unless he's going to freaking throw you Ken style from Street Fighter, you put your knee anywhere in the solar of the center line, and you guys are going to stop if it's done correctly. Now, if the guy's super strong, you're going for the ride. But when you go for the ride, if he lets go of you, you can probably pop out of it and land on your feet and be ready to go. Which is some things that I have done with people that just threw me, because they can. I'm only like 125 pounds. At this time of learning, I might have been maybe like $115. So it's pretty easy to throw me around. At this time now, at 120, if that, it's still pretty easy to throw me around. But people can only do to you what you allow them to do to you. Now, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the Army, I got dusted every time, unless the drill sergeants weren't looking. And I'll be the first to tell you, I cheated. Every time. Every time. They always set me up with a guy who was like 6'3" or better. And he'd sit on me, so his body's straddling my gut and my chest. And he's got me by the lapel, and I have to go over and C-clamp. So, C-clamp. Not like this, but, kind of like this. And I have to roll him over. And I have to use my waist and stuff and try to roll him over, or try to roll him over this way. So, if the guy drops dead weight on you, it ain't a whole bunch of guy that's like 5'3", $130 gonna do against a guy that's like 6'4" and 220 pounds. So I cheated. When I couldn't get him to move, I took his hands, I got him by his thumbs, and I pulled his thumbs off, and then I slid through his legs and headbutted him in his crotch with my forehead. And they're like, that's not what we taught you. I said, yeah, that's called a last-ditch effort. 20 push-ups. So I'm over there knocking out the push-ups. He's like, now this time do it right. So when I was doing it right, I couldn't roll the guy. And he said, why is it not working? I said, because maybe the fact that the guy is 100 pounds heavier than me, and the fact that I've never been on my back in a fight. I've always kept it standing. I have no ground game. Now, I just gave a weakness away. Don't believe that. I have ground game name, but at the time, I had no ground game. And I was like, dude, I don't have any ground game. I'm not going to let somebody just take my ass to the ground. That shit's not going to happen. He said, but if it does, I said, it's not going to happen. He said, how you figure that? I said, I've been fighting since I was 6 years old. If we go into the ground, two things that happen. He done killed me, or he done knocked me the fuck out. I said, outside of that, I'm not going to the ground. I said, and if I do go to the ground, he's not going to be close enough on me to where I can't defend myself. I was like, well, I said, I have a lot of martial art experience, and I know for a fact that here's reality. If I got him on the ground, he's probably not going to be there that long, especially if he's bigger than me, because I've wrestled with people, and I've had them literally bench press me the fuck off of them. So, that shit you see in wrestling, yeah, that shit does happen. When people kick up and push their opponent way up, I've had it happen to me, you know. So, since I'm the never stay down guy, you know, you're not going to keep me down unless you're sitting on top of me and beating me to death, which is not an option, because I'm a fighter, and I'm going to fight until my last breath. The whole thing was, you know, with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you had 3 positions that we learned in the Army. Just 3, and we learned them every day that we had GFT. And when we did the pugils, I was pretty good with the pugils until Fagin, whatever the hell his name was, hit me in the nuts, which was a low blow, which they never saw, and they thought I hit myself with the pugil. I said, dude, I'm well too experienced with the bow staff to have ever hit myself in the nuts. Then they had 2 guys attack me, and I bested both of them, and that shit was fun. And the only thing that kept me from going into the complete military was that I can't shoot worth shit. So I have an honorable discharge for failure to adapt with my rifle. Now, had they gave me a bow and arrow, I might have had a fighting chance. But anyway, all jokes aside, with certain martial arts, you're just not going to get it. Alright? Some of y'all will be like a fish to water, not a fish out of water, because that phrase really doesn't make sense. Most fish, when they get out of water, they die. So, yeah, that kind of really is the reason why it doesn't make sense. But it might be because I'm a logical thinking person with dry skin on my lip. That being said, when you're in a fight and your opponent is bigger and stronger, this damn shit's getting on my nerve. It's more than likely that you may lose if you lose your train of thought. Or if they knock you the fuck out, then you're pretty much done. But, you know, when you have someone who has Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and you're not into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you're not a on-your-back fighter, you really do need to know how to adapt. And what I had told the drill sergeant was, if I can get my fingers into his indentions of his elbows, I have a fighting chance before he, like, punches me. Or if I can get my whole forearm into this to make him loosen his grip, then I probably can get him off me. But this bullshit with the C-clamp and the rollover doesn't work for me. It worked for everybody in that damn company except for me. I'm the only guy that shit did not work for. I'm also the only guy in there that was like 5'3" and only like 130 pounds. Everybody else was like 5'5", 5'8", and they all were just working that shit. But they always also never put me against a guy that was my size. They always put me against a guy who was bigger. And luckily for me, everybody's bigger than me. In every fight I've ever been in, I've never fought a guy my size or smaller. I've always fought people who were bigger than me. So I told the drill sergeant, you know, it's easier for me to stay on my feet. You know? And then, you know, when I got out of the Army, I was looking into the UFC before we realized how fucked up my legs were. And they still, at the time, wasn't taking anybody 125 and down. So what happens, 4 years ago, I had my hip replacement. And about that time I had my hip replacement, the UFC has a super lightweight where everyone's between 115 to 125. And I'm like, you motherfuckers. So I will always have a problem with the UFC for that. Because had they been doing that 10 years ago, I never went to the Army. Because I would have went to the school of hard knocks known as the UFC. But they didn't have that. Now they have it, and there's no way in hell the UFC is going to give me a job because I have a hip replacement, so no doctor is going to clear me for getting into the ring that I know of. No. I've talked to people who do MMA here in Charlottesville, and I come find out that I really wouldn't be able to do it anyway because they have a base set of rules that I'm totally against. First off, I know it's a sanctioned fight. Let's get that out the way. But I have been taught things in fighting that we are not allowed to use even though it's mixed martial arts. Alright? Okay, first we know that it's illegal to kick them in the nuts. It's illegal to eye gouge. Alright? That's not what I'm talking about. I have been taught how to avoid being body slammed by many a senseis that I've had. Out of the 5 of them, yeah, the knees are dangerous, and usually when people are getting body slammed in the UFC, they come in and scoop you up. So I clap down. So I would put my knees into this area of your body, and my elbows into this area or your spine. Come find out, in MMA, that's illegal. And so let me get this right. It's a fight where any martial arts style goes, but I can't use a basic clap to stop them from hurting me. Yet I can sidestep them and knee them in the face and then elbow them in the back, but not in the back of the neck, which is fatal. Which is what I was taught to elbow people. You know, if they're coming at you and they're throwing this punch, and you sidestep, bam, boom. You know, that's like the fucking basic move. You know, and they're like, no, you can't do that. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, you can't do that. I said, well, I come from the school of hard knocks in the streets, and if I'm in a fight, I can do whatever I want, as long as I don't kill the bastard on the receiver end of this boom, boom. It's like, no, you can't do that. You can back fist them, but you can't elbow them. And I'm like, what? So I'm sitting here and I'm like, it's MMA, dude. It's mixed martial arts. It means I can use kung fu, karate, wushu, wing chun, judo, jujitsu, ninjutsu, kempo. I can use the shit that I was trained in. Even capoeira, which I wasn't really trained in. I learned that from somebody who knew capoeira. They gave me enough of it that I learned how to beat it. Which is basically all the things that I just mentioned. I've been taught enough of it that I could beat it. And they're like, no, you can't do that. We don't allow that in the ring. It's like, so if I'm getting tackled, I have to let this guy body slam me? I can't knock the wind out of him so that I can recover from the tackle? And like, basically, yeah. I was like, yep, basically, then my ass ain't getting into the UFC, MMA, or any of that shit because I fight to survive. What I teach people, I teach them what they can use to survive. But you only have to come to me twice. Twice. See, what happens after you leave me is on you. If you don't practice what I teach you, I teach you knee to the gut, elbow to the spine, fight's done. And you don't practice this stuff, then it's useless to you. Teach you box, punch, you know, boom, 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 boom. You know, those are simple shit, you know. You're blocking his punch and you're sliding up his arm and you're striking him in the throat. Or you're striking him here. Or if you block and you elbow, you're elbowing him in here. You're elbowing him somewhere where you can do something dangerous or it's safety for you. It's not safe for your opponent. If you're going to elbow high, because you don't want to strike the free-floating ribs or the kidneys or something that you can kill the man with, but you want to let them know they've been hit. Well, the thing is, you know, I'm not going to teach you something that you can't use in the street. And a lot of things that you see in movies, you can use in the street, but you have to be taught how to use it in the street. Alright? And that's where I come in. I would teach you how to use it in the street because the scenarios that you see in the movie are real. The problem is human body mechanics and speed. Alright? If a person's coming at you, you know, you got to be able to adapt and you need to be able to block that shit. And you have so many blocks that actually work. You know, this block and this block, they are effective. But if you're doing it Kempo style and you do a 2-knuckle block, you know, people probably don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So a 2-knuckle block is where these 2 knuckles, your hands, you got to clench fist. Extend these 2 knuckles. Boom. You know, so if your 2 knuckles hit one of these metacarpals in their hand when they're throwing a punch and you're like, bow, you know, you can do some damage. If they're throwing a straight jab, 2-knuckle punch, you know, right there, pow, you know, you do some damage. And these, you have mini bones in your one hand bone. So it's like 500 or 50 some type of metacarpals. I don't know the exact number. That plus all your nerve endings and shit. Generally, the center of your hand is where that shit goes. So if you're knuckle punching and they're throwing a straight strike and you hit one of them, pow, you know, they'll know it. They will know it. And the harder you hit that, they're gonna come back like this. And while they're doing that, bam! You're not gonna sit there and watch them flailing their hand around. You know, you're going to attack them. Unless you just have some cosmetic force inside you to say, look at this guy, he's shaking his hand. No, you don't do that. When the fight's begun and they throw that punch and you engage with that 2-knuckle strike on their hand, or if you hit them in their knuckles while they're throwing that punch, you pow! You know, you're going to do some damage to them. Which goes back to, it's not how hard you hit, it's where you hit. Again, I state you have 365 pressure points in the human body. 250 of them in places of assorted arrangements on your body can hurt you or kill you very, very badly. Some of them pressure points are for pleasure. The majority versus the minority are for pain. Okay? The human body is an intricate traffic map of things that you can do to hurt or help the human body exist. Alright? So for all those who are looking at me and saying, oh, James, you don't know shit. You're a phony baloney, okay? Believe what you will. But I will tell you, a lot of people don't come fighting this phony baloney. Now, the thing about a fight, and any martial artist should tell you that contact is everything. Literally, contact is everything. First contact will decide if your ass is going to sleep or if you're going to victory. So, in a fight, it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter what your martial art level is. It doesn't matter what your skill level is. It doesn't matter who taught you what. What matters is what you know of what you can do. I'm old. I'm wounded. I like fighting. 3 bad combinations right there, because 1, you don't fuck with a wounded animal. 2, don't think that someone who's old can't beat your ass. And 3, if you're going against someone who likes to fight, you're just fueling them. So you want to end that shit quickly. You know, sternum, throat. A man who can't stand can't hurt you. A man who can't breathe can't hurt you. One of those statements ain't right. Understand this. A man that can't stand can still fuck you up. A man that can't breathe, a man that's gone to sleep, they're not going to be doing too much. Now here's where honor comes in. When you knock your opponent out, they're done. Do not kick a man while he's down. Do not go around, oh yeah, I beat this guy's ass, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. Stay tuned for the 3rd video.